complex.
I created the ultimate device for understanding all the beings of the universe.
For over a decade, that whelp has prevented me from arming a legion of Omnitrix-clad minions to conquer the universe.
Maybe you've forgotten something. I'm Ben Tennyson, wielder of the most powerful weapon in the universe.
The Omnitrix, without a doubt, is one of the most recognizable devices in fiction. Every 2000s kid wished they had an Omnitrix, and even today some of us still have that same wish. The Omnitrix is as popular, if not more popular, than Ben himself, which isn't out of the ordinary. When creating characters in the superhero genre, coming up with a creative and fitting power set is of the utmost importance. A character's superpowers play a huge factor into a character's likability and identity, as many superheroes become recognizable because of their superpowers. Everyone knows that Superman can soar across the skies and has super strength, along with his heat vision and all the other shit that he can do. People know that Spider-Man can do whatever a spider can, shooting his webs and climbing walls. And everyone knows that Batman is just rich. That's his superpower, he's just rich. The Omnitrix and Ben have followed that same pattern, as you can't think of one without thinking out the other. It's a testament to just how iconic and genius the Omnitrix is as a device in the story of Ben 10. We remember the Omnitrix not only because of its powerful capabilities via the numerous iconic alien transformations it gave us, but also how it involved itself into the story with the lore around it, and also how it went on to develop a real relationship with the main character.
A watch? What's a watch doing in outer space?
If something is going to become iconic though, it has to look the part, and the Omnitrix through all of its iterations never failed to look at least somewhat cool. The original Omnitrix is such a looker, with its black and gray color scheme accompanied by the green hourglass and buttons along with the white bands around it. This look to me perfectly rolled the line of feeling like a practical device from Earth, but also having that alien type of feel. When Alien Force rolled around and the Omnitrix ended up recalibrating, the show went for an even more simplistic look, using a lot of green with some black to follow the new Ben 10 brand of everything just being green, which I mean, like, green's my favorite color, mainly because of Ben 10, so like it wasn't a problem to me. What made the Alien Force Omnitrix even cooler though, and why some may prefer to the original, was the introduction of the holograms. Now, I never had a strong opinion on classic use of the alien silhouettes, I just thought they were fine, but the holograms, ooh, don't get me started. It makes the Omnitrix feel so much more unique and high tech. I especially love when the holograms illuminate Ben's surrounding with that striking glow that the holograms will use. It's just so nice to look at. I'm glad the show carried the hologram aesthetic over to the Ultimatrix as well, although I'm personally not the biggest fan of the Ultimatrix. I can understand why people do like the Ultimatrix due to its more gauntlet-like look instead of just being a typical wristwatch like the other Omnitrixes. But to me personally, I'm always just a fan of the other Omnitrixes and the more simplistic looks. And it's why when Omniverse went back to the more wristwatch-like designs with a design very similar to an Apple Watch nowadays, I became a huge fan of it. I always believed that the Omnitrix intentionally tried to look more modern and human to cater to Ben's comfortability and style, and I think the Omniverse Omnitrix is just the epitome of that. My one gripe with the Omniverse Omnitrix is that the holograms here they use for the faceplate isn't really the best. I think it's probably the weakest silhouette slash hologram the Omnitrix is used, but you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. The designs of the Omnitrix, whether you like one or not, all did a good job of standing out. If you see any of these designs randomly out in the world, it instantly makes you think of Ben 10 due to just that striking design look they all had. Outside of the Ultimatrix, I do think they all do a good job of looking both alien and human, especially as they continue to evolve. While the design obviously played a key part in making the Omnitrix iconic, it was of course more so its functionality that made every kid mesmerized by the device. The Omnitrix was such a unique tool for a main character, as it gave the user access to practically every superpower in existence, all by going through these gruesome looking transformations, all to become a badass alien, all made for just the coolest thing ever to see growing up. It's funny how people realize only years after the show being off the air just how like sneaky overpowered the Omnitrix was. How strong the Omnitrix is of course plays into its popularity, as it launched Ben into the center of like the power scaling community as of recently, but To me, what really made the Omnitrix and its aliens so iconic wasn't just because of how powerful they are, but more so because of the personality they held. People may have gravitated towards Ben and his aliens because of their powers and appealing designs at first, but they became fan favorites due to them having their own sense of being / identity that audiences were able to grab onto. Even though the aliens are still just Ben himself, they still end up feeling like their own characters. Ben adopts not only the powers, but the personality of the aliens he sometimes turns into. Like how becoming gray matter gives him this intelligent personality that sometimes overtakes his own.
Your malfunction? Probably something stupid like the DNA splicing replicator copying a fragmented amino acid sequence. So this is what it feels like to be smart.
Or the similar thing with Raph's hyper-aggressive personality that people found themselves loving and growing attached to. Even the characters in universe love watching Raph.
Make you like it!
You know, Raph is the only alien that makes me want to get a box of popcorn, kick back, and just watch.
Kevin, this isn't the time for... Okay, me too.
There are also aliens whose personalities aren't so strong, but they still set themselves apart from each other enough to feel like their own characters. Whether it be something small like Brainstorm's use of high vocabulary,
I sincerely doubt you would display such bravado were you cognizant of your imminent encounter with
Jurig's strong urge to just destroy machinery, or Wild Mutt just not being able to talk. Now, with all that being said though, the Omnitrix is far from perfect. Along with its creative functions that has made it so well known in pop culture, you can also say that its lack of functionality also helped make it become as well known as it is. Anyone who's a fan of Ben 10 is very familiar with this iconic sound.
We'll figure this thing out.
The Omnitrix and its flaws have become just as known as its aliens, and I personally love that. As a kid, hearing that timeout sound made you so mad because it meant that the action and screen time for your favorite alien was up. Growing up, I hated that the Omnitrix was always bound to timeout in classic, but looking back at it, it made for kind of like the perfect handicap. Balancing the Omnitrix's limitless potential of giving Ben access to so many superpowers with a time limit and having to recharge it keeps it from being overpowered in universe. And while it can still be annoying to watch, as you of course want the action to never stop, it at least makes sense considering a device as powerful as the Omnitrix would need to recharge and have of course limited energy, especially since in classic the Omnitrix was a prototype. Knowing Ben only had a certain amount of time whenever he transformed really made you cherish the time an alien was on screen, and it also added levels of tension to every encounter, as there was always a chance that the Omnitrix would time out and need to recharge in the middle of a battle or before Ben could finish saving the day.
Music to my ears.
The show would also use these inconvenient timeouts as an opportunity to showcase Ben's capability without the Omnitrix, showing that he is a hero even without the Omnitrix. But even though Ben would hold his own and show that he is not to be fucked with even without the Omnitrix, there was still no stronger moment of excitement than hearing the Omnitrix fully recharge.
Oh yeah?
I also can't forget to mention the more prominent handicap for the Omnitrix though, as the timeout function was only really a problem in the classic series and never really was an issue going forward in the series. The most known problem the Omnitrix handed Ben was when it would randomly give him the wrong alien.
I really have to get that fixed.
Ben and his mistransformations became iconic because of how at the start of the series, they served as a way to really force Ben to rely on strategy over simply trying to punch his way out of his problems. But as the show went on, the Omnitrix contained more aliens, kind of just became an excuse to force alien variety. Ben would try to dial up forearms and Humongosaur more times than I can count to try and solve his problems in this series. But due to the wrong transformations, he would instead have to solve his situations with aliens like Goop or Gray Matter. Wrong transformations being an in-universe explanation for the show to use a specific alien they wanted was not only a smart workaround, but another smart handicap for the Omnitrix. The Omnitrix being unreliable forced Ben to become proficient with all his aliens instead of just favoring one, to avoid being caught lacking if he had to work a situation with an unintended alien. Though my favorite part about this was that it gave the Omnitrix a little bit of his own personality of sorts, making it seem like the Omnitrix was giving Ben wrong aliens on purpose instead of it just being a design flaw, which made his relationship with Ben funny to watch at times.
Way big! Oh man! humongous orb.
I know fans really dislike this element of the show, and I sometimes dislike it as well. But when the show uses it to form a relationship between the Omnitrix and Ben, I find it pretty enjoyable at times. Especially when Ben at the end of Omniverse kind of just accepts it all as the Omnitrix just trying to look out for him.
I'm not reckless. It always seems to give me the right alien, even when I want something else. I guess I should stop fighting it.
The Omnitrix's strengths and weaknesses are the main factors of why people remember it and why people are so fond over the idea of having one. However, one aspect of the Omnitrix that really helped capture people's attention when it first came onto the scene and got everybody interested in it was the lore that came with it. The classic series kept the Omnitrix and its details a mystery that we slowly got answers to as the show progressed.
The Omnitrix is not some toy for your amusement. It's the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, the key to an epic battle between good and evil.
The Omnitrix in Classic was sought out by those who wanted to abuse its power for evil, and it drew out some of the show's most iconic and deadly villains like the GOAT Vilgax, who whenever he was on screen, you just knew shit was about to get real. It even attracted the attention of some of Ben's earthly threats like Animo, which is where they were able to introduce a very memorable part of the show in its fusion aliens. We would eventually learn everything about the Omnitrix in its own TV movie, where we ended up meeting its creator Azimuth, and where he revealed that the Omnitrix was not made to be a weapon, but a device made to help understand all the life forms in the universe. This became the Omnitrix's identity as the series progressed, as it basically became Noah's Ark while Ben was Noah as put by Azimuth. That's a quote from the show, like dead ass.
The Omnitrix is Noah's Ark, and you are Noah. I cannot allow you to participate in the final battle.
It's also part of why I like seeing Ben get the wrong alien in certain situations, because it just helped reinforce the message of the Omnitrix, that every being is equal and capable. Lesser looked at species probably saw Ben use him to be effective in his acts to save the world, and probably felt inspired and felt seen. Even knowing that Ben is aware of his position as the wielder of the Omnitrix isn't just to be a protector, but also a symbol of everyone, is a nice addition to the Omnitrix's lore.
You are one of us. I am one of everybody.
Ben using the Omnitrix to be a representation of everyone in his battle to protect the universe, spreading the message of the Omnitrix, just makes it even cooler, and it's why it still sticks with me and probably many others to this day. I still remember watching that first episode of Ben 10 and being immediately hooked, seeing the Omnitrix latch onto Ben's wrist, turning him into Heat Blast in this gorgeous transformation sequence. I remember watching the rest of the series and Secret of the Omnitrix and just taking in all of the rich lore of the Omnitrix, finally understanding it. I remember how it felt watching Ben use my favorite aliens in every series and just how much joy it brought me growing up. Growing up, I would have killed for an Omnitrix, and now at 21 years of age, I would still kill for one. Ben 10 introduced one of the most iconic devices into fiction, and it was all due to its amazing concept and execution that wowed us when we were younger.
Not if I can help it. It's hero time!
It's hero time! It's hero time! So I guess this means it's hero time!
Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I make videos about Ben 10 and just action cartoons in general, so I'd really appreciate if y'all subscribe, especially if you're new here. I'm trying to reach 100K, y'all. Also, don't forget to leave a like on the video and comment down below what was your favorite part about the Omnitrix and why. Uploads should be back to coming out on a consistent basis. I got sick for like a week straight, and while I was sick, I ended up scripting this video, so that's why it's gonna be on the shorter side. You know, I was sick when I was writing this. I tried my best to get it out, so yeah. But now that I'm over that, like I said, uploads should be back to coming out on a consistent basis. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, it's been your boy Dan, boy Wonder, signing out. Peace.